San Francisco. He's going to tell you a little about his life, and we can ask plenty of questions. I know one person, I don't know if he's here, asked me today, how come he didn't go to college? I said, well, ask him tonight. Anyway, we do not have a college guy here, which is interesting in a world where everyone is just clawing to get into college. I give you Zach Taylor from San Francisco.
So hello everybody, I'm Zach. I want to start off just by thanking all the people that I've worked with over the years. It's been a lot of collaborations. So when I show all these pictures and talk about stuff, you think like, oh, that guy did this or that guy did this, that. I've worked with some amazing people, and that's made a lot of the difference. So keep that in mind. You want to always pick your friends really well. This is me in 1992 with my cool Blair Petty shirt. I didn't decide to be a computer person. I was just fascinated by them. I thought they were amazing, and I'd take them apart, put them back together, do things with them. I actually didn't like that we had Macs here in the classrooms, and senior year I mandated that I get a PC. So they put a PC in there. It was also to play Doom. I don't know if you remember. But I also programmed on it. So the first company I started with John Kennedy's oldest son, we wanted to do video games. We wanted to do an online game kind of like World of Warcraft or any of the other ones that are out there now. We had this vision of it, this ivory tower off in the distance, and we went for it. And we just decided, whatever, I'm going to drop out of college, I'm going to move to Colorado, and we're going to start this company. My mom will eternally ask me if I'm going to graduate from college, which I'm not. I'm 39 this summer, I'm not going back. So we worked really hard on this, almost to the point of ridiculousness. This is Sisyphus. It's a Greek myth of the guy that just pushes the boulder up the cliff, and he's just never done. We worked nonstop for 2 years on our idea. We failed to think about how we could possibly test this idea before we poured all this effort in. You can imagine just like working for 2 years of your school career and then at the end being like, oh, what's my grade? Without any feedback in between. So needless to say, that company didn't do so well. And everything had to go. So we dissolved everything, and I took that winter off and actually snowboarded the entire winter. It was really fun. And I reflected on, why it was that this great dream we had, this thing that we were going to create, didn't ultimately happen. So after that, I moved to San Francisco, and I joined up with a group of guys who had a small company above the Gap in San Francisco. It's a cool building. And that company was a lot different. This time we did what the customer wanted, and we did so almost to a fault. This is a ship tacking, and we used to joke about how we wanted to get to this island eventually, but in doing so, we're going to need to tack all over the ocean, go to all sorts of different ports in order to get there. A lot of times there was moments where, the bank account ran low. I have some stories about, telling some of the core group of guys, like, hey, how about not getting paid for a couple months? How about going to Bank of America and taking out a small loan? It takes a lot of faith to do that, especially when you have 30 people working for you. You don't want to lay them off. You don't want to not pay them. How do you juggle these things? We used to joke all the time, using a racing game analogy. I don't know if you guys have played racing games. You're running out of gas, you're just about to hit that checkpoint, and then time extension. You get another bunch of money in the bank, and you can go for another 6 months and find that next project. Keeps you going. It's tiring, though, and it's a lot of work, and you're constantly doing whatever the customer wants. It's the complete opposite of heading towards that ivory tower and just working on something for 2 years. So luckily, we managed to get a gig with Sega to do the Iron Man video games. And this was Iron Man 1, which came out in May of 2008. And it was a big project for our little company. You know, we're like 30 to 50 people at this time, and Sega comes in and they're like, hey, you gotta make this game because Iron Man's gonna come out in May, and we're gonna have this big marketing blitz, and we gotta time everything. You know, you've launched the games and on everything from a little Nintendo DS to a GameCube, all the way up to the 360 and PS3, and all the movies, and you time all the marketing. So it has to be done at the same time. Robert Downey Jr. actually made us a Christmas video that year. It was just his head. He had dyed blonde hair at the time. I can't repeat everything he said here. He's an interesting guy. But he encouraged us, sorry, that's my son up there. He encouraged us to work really hard over the holidays. And if we didn't, he may come after us. I'm paraphrasing. Half the company thought it was hilarious what he said. The other half was mortified. So you can just imagine what he told us. Ultimately, we did ship the game on time. And Sega ultimately bought our company. And we were the first developer in the United States of America that was working for this Japanese company. Which also taught us a lot, because then we were a part of this massive corporate structure that went all the way back to Japan, where the majority of their money was made in pachinko machines. I don't know if you know what pachinko is. It's like a little ball goes down. If it lands in one of the buckets, you get a bunch of coins, you know. It's something like a grandma would play in like a casino. It's like not very cool. But so as, you know, we got our head inside this crazy corporate structure, which taught us a lot. Video games then started to lose their luster. You know, I was tired of pleasing 12-year-old boys, basically. And that's what video games are, right? It's like, you just want to like be the guy that kills the dragon or whatever. And I was like, oh, we need to do something else. So Steve Jobs, at that point, introduced the iPhone. And mobile was this Wild West. No one knew what the iPhone was going to do. This is the Oklahoma land grab of 1839. It was crazy, and like phones were sort of growing, and like lots of people were starting to do apps, but we weren't really sure. So we decided, hey, you know, we've been next one. One back. Sorry, that we've done this before. We can go into this Oklahoma land grab. This is wide earth. And since we have a little bit of experience, we can start a company, not do everything our customer wants to a fault, not spend 2 years building a dream, but blend the two, and maybe we can create something with value. And we did. Twitter needed mobile experience. They needed our mobile skills. We had a bunch of technology we built. And they acquired us in 2012. Actually, another funny story, they acquired us while Janine and I, my wife, were on our honeymoon in Panama. And they couldn't find us, and I needed to sign documents. And I had told one of my friends, and showed him on Google, the image of the island we were staying at in Panama. And my coworker on Facebook contacted all of my friends, ultimately found this friend. That friend remembered the island, went on Google search, found the picture of the island again, and then figured out the phone number to call us. So it's kind of cool. And they called us, they came with a Ziploc bag with a phone. That's it. And we got acquired, and we were part of the IPO. It was amazing. It was you know, nerve-wracking and just huge. And that's our CEO right there on the New York Stock Exchange. And I'm still there to this day. I've run small teams there, and now I'm kind of joining a new team and just trying to learn everything I can from another big corporate structure and trying to learn all the technology that I can at that scale. And probably within a year or so, I'll be back to a new company again and, you know, figuring out how to get health insurance or some other exciting problem. So yeah, that's my little story, and ask me questions, I guess.
So what is your your job description for Twitter? Like, do you you said you kind of run small teams at the market, or?
I'm a programmer by trade,
Mm-hmm.
so a software engineer. But I'm pretty senior now, so I also blend a lot of like mentoring and setting the direction for the team and how to like build things that are larger than like a couple-day project or a week project. How to build something that's like a 6-month or a year project with 20 people. So that's kind of what I do. So I'm a software engineer is my title.
Oh, cool.
Short answer. Yes.
Do you think Blair did anything to contribute to your success?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I learned Pascal junior and senior year here, which is a programming language, with Ray DeBose, who's no longer here, but that was huge. I mean, that and an internship with John Kennedy's company in Stroudsburg, and Pat Kennedy's company. With those two things, I took a year off after high school, and by the time I got to college, I was kind of like, this is really expensive. I'd pay for my college, so I was like, this is really expensive. I could be making this money and like buying skateboard decks like twice a week, eating as much Subway as I want, or I could write checks to some school. School does have its benefits, though. You can't learn the higher order math and physics without school. Like, if you're going to pursue some high-end science, something that really needs specialized learning, then school is your bet. But if you're just going to go there and like drink beer and hang out, it's probably...
Yeah. So you mentioned how when Steve Jobs made the iPhone, the tech world was like, phones, and that it was starting to move in that direction. And now, obviously, phones are a massive tech giant. What would you say the tech world is looking at now with the same way that they looked at the iPhone? Like, where is that? What there's good about it?
I don't know. It's a good question. If I knew that, I'd be off in that little space right now, carving out a little home in it. There's a lot of things shifting around right now. It kind of depends what size you are. The consumer space, the iPhone is still ruling the roost. The larger companies, like big data, is very important. I don't know if you guys know this, but like everything you do on social networks is recorded down to the millisecond. We know how long you looked at Kim Kardashian. We know how, we know everything about you, and it's used for targeting ads. So all that gets churned into a giant machine, and we're like, maybe you shop at Abercrombie. You're like, maybe we'll give you this ad about this, So that's a big field right now, is targeting of advertising. I don't know. If I knew that, I'd be... Yes?
What was it that excited Twitter about your company?
We had a bunch of mobile technology for rapid application development. We could basically prototype their ideas really quickly and empower more people in the organization besides just the engineers to design parts of the app. So it's the classic, enable the business to do more with the people they have. Yeah.
Would you say that you had any difficulties, competing with other people who learned coding in college or took some courses in college?
Not even close. I've invested so much time in programming, it's kind of ridiculous. I think my parents were worried about me for a little while. Like, I would stay up, till all ends of the night. I'd work all day at John's company, and then I'd come home and I'd skateboard at Footbridge Park, go to Shawnee till it closed, Shawnee Ski Mountain, and then I'd program till 2 in the morning and wake up and do it again. So college kids, they spend too much time having fun. Yeah.
Were you mostly self-taught, or did you Both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So school is really cool because calculus, physics, statistics, your teachers know that stuff really well, and you can learn that. History, you can read as many books as you want to the end of the earth. You'll never know history, right? You can do that forever. So yeah, it's a blend. You just got to know what's right for you.
Are there certain things you have to know before you learn how to program or code?
How to turn on a computer? Yeah. I didn't even know how to type. I just had my own like freestyle typing, just kind of random. So no, you don't need to know anything. Just go for it.
Any good Blair pranks or stories?
Let's see.
Is that Teddy to ask that question?
Yeah.
Take a mental note.
Yeah, mental note. I'd say like the main thing that I did that was bad was since I was a day student, I had a car my senior year, and some kids wanted to get off campus, and I would coast down the golf course road with kids ducking down in the back of the car. We didn't do anything that bad though. We just wanted to go to Shawnee on Tuesdays and Thursdays because the ski bus only went there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that wasn't enough snowboarding. We needed Tuesday and Thursday. So.
Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to have your company work for Sega?
Yeah, Sega was cool. It was, it's crazy. We used to make jokes about Sonic the Hedgehog all the time because he paid all the bills. Sega was mostly a publisher. When you work for a publisher, they basically pay you quarterly on deliverables. So you're constantly beholden to them. And when you have like a 50, or when we got acquired by Sega, we were like 150 people. Every quarter you got to put up a demo. Think about final exams every quarter. And if you don't do a good job, they're like, hey, yeah, we're not gonna pay you. It's cool. Those people, they can get other jobs. So that was like the uncool part of Sega. The cool part of Sega was getting access to a PS3 when it still looked like a moon lander. It was like this big and it sounded like a vacuum. Or getting an Xbox 360 when it still looked like a weird box and the hardware wasn't finalized. So that was really cool to get access to those type of things. And then you just stay up all night basically because it was like, you're one of 2 people in America that has a PlayStation 3. 2 years before Christmas when they come out. So you get excited, Yeah.
What do you think of the Oculus Rift sort of system or with gaming?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think VR has come and gone many times over the years. The technology's getting better, but I think it's like a social problem in some ways too. It's kind of dorky to wear a headset. It's so I'm not sure if we're ever going to overcome that. Maybe people will be okay, hanging out in their dorm room with just their buddy wearing the headset, and as long as no girls open the door and look in, or vice versa, it'd be cool. But we'll see. There's definitely medical uses and virtual doctors and that kind of stuff, but that's pretty niche. Yeah, either one of you guys.
Thanks. Did you keep in touch with the same group throughout all your different companies that you went through?
I'm still in contact with all of them.
Like who worked with you?
Yeah, the younger brother of one of the guys and his dad and mom are here, and uncle and are all here. I'm still very good friends with them. The second 2 companies I had have been a core group of guys that I've worked with for about 10 years now. So we kind of it's like a band at this point, pull the band back together and do another one, It's interesting, you do get into your roles. And,
Even the original one that helped you with Dream Company?
I'm still in contact with them. I don't work with them professionally right now.
You talk about the acquiring of your company by Sega and Twitter. How did that feel, and did it ever come into your mind that you wanted to keep your company your own rather than another company?
All the time. I would. The dream is to get to a point where, you have a good life, you get to hang out with your family, you get to surf on the weekends, and you still have a nice house, and you don't have to worry about eating all the avocados you want. We eat a lot of avocados in our house. That would be great. It's hard to do though, and I'm not a big fan of being a boss. I don't like managing people. I can do it, I can if I have to, but I'd rather keep it small. And it's it's hard to build a sustainable business that small. So you end up getting acquired by these larger companies because you have these skills, and you spend your time there, and you learn how to be part of that big structure, and then you kind of do it again. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I would like to. I haven't figured out how to make that business yet. It tends to grow.
Do you have any plans after working for Twitter?
Oh yeah. I don't know what they are yet though, but I'm definitely gonna do something else. I'll probably eternally do something else. I get like the 6-year itch. I need to I don't know, do something different.
Some thoughts about living in San Francisco as opposed to in this area?
Oh yeah, it's vastly different. We don't do winter anymore. I snowboard like twice a year. It's fun, but then I like California lifestyle. My wife loves California lifestyle. The tech scene there is just it's ludicrous. It's just there's so much. So that is you're just constantly in contact with those people. Sure.
Maybe just as an English teacher at Blair, I don't understand exactly how Twitter makes money.
Advertising.
Just advertising.
Just advertising. Yep. Make $1 billion a year selling ads. It's crazy. And it's basically off all the content that people share on Twitter, right? So they're, you're tweeting about, hey, I'm at the soccer game, or I'm at, wherever, and we use that data to then target ads, and those ads have a certain return on them because, they are matching with what you're doing, so people click them. That's how we make our money.
Are there any issues when it comes to the privacy concerns? When it comes to tracking the data, especially on things like Twitter?
Yeah, definitely. We take that super seriously. So, like in Europe, there's different regulations versus the U.S., and we always respect DNT. I don't know if you guys know that. It's like do not track on your browsers. So we can't record anything about you, or we can only record for hours to days, and we have to delete it. So yeah, we do take that seriously, but it is an opt-in privacy. I'm not trying to be down on social networks, but I feel like now is also a chance to tell everyone who's using social networks probably more than the rest of us, how it really works,
So the thing that you're talking about, kind of the whole thing, how it uses your search and stuff to kind of, I don't know what the word is, but make it better for you. Is that a formula, or what makes that kind of happen? Or is it kind of people sitting on computers, or what is it?
You can do it that way. You can do Mechanical Turk, and have 1,000 people all working on it. It doesn't scale. It's a machine learning problem a lot, which is, let's see if I can summarize it. It's a lot of linear algebra, but basically we do feature classification. It's distracting me here. It's amazing. It just goes right to your brain. Programmed. So we do a lot of feature classification. So for example, if you're posting images online, we can usually tell oh, hey, that's you. Oh, that's your buddy that you're always in the picture with. We recognize that. We can tell all sorts of sports. We can tell thousands of different image types. We can read text now. So we know you're tweeting about the baseball game, or you're tweeting about the Mets game on Sunday. We know that. It's pretty crazy. Google has this thing that they talk about a lot. It's called the Google Brain, and Twitter's trying to build one as well, which is a project I'm currently doing. And it's about a 10,000 machine network, which is big. If you think about how many machines 10,000 is, probably fill this entire building with computers. and they are all just crunching numbers all day long, 24/7, on all these people. So that's what they do.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Oh, sure.
How does Twitter go about like verifying people? I feel like that's something that a lot of people.
It's hard. It's hard to verify. We verified accounts is kind of this weird thing that's like got some legacy to it, where you had to like know somebody. You know, when you see that little check mark next to them. Like most of that is like who you know, and then there's some teams that kind of go out and do that. And we mostly do that for like marketing reasons, like go and find Robert Downey Jr. and be like, hey, we're going to verify your account because you're a superstar. It's mostly social. You can do phone numbers like two-factor auth, which I highly advise. I'm sure all of your passwords are super secure. You don't use any phrases from your life or anything simple like your dog's name, but most passwords can be guessed pretty quickly these days, so definitely take that into account. Yeah.
So when you're looking through trends on Twitter, the sponsored trends, the advertising is have the yellow thing on it,
Yeah.
so you can tell. So whenever I'm checking, I know to like instantly skip over because it's sponsored. So when do you think that's going to go away? Because eventually there'll be enough money pumped in that it'll kind of become more subtle. Or if it doesn't completely go away, it'll be much more kind of.
Yeah, it's gotten smaller over the years already, and then it's gotten bigger at times. So you're saying it could go totally to organic, so it's just completely blended in, you don't even know. Yeah, that's totally possible, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. One of Twitter's big problems is, we have this massive pile of content. People are tweeting all over the world all the time, and like, how do we get what's relevant to you? What you're interested in? Like, are you interested in the Mets? Do you want to hear about Hurricane Sandy that's coming? Do you want to hear about something in Pasadena? Like figuring that out, and then obviously blending ads into that stream is a big problem. So yeah, it can happen.
So occasionally when something like Facebook updates their privacy policy, you see people reposting these statuses about saying, Facebook doesn't have the right to use my stuff. But does Facebook have the right to use your pictures in the first place, and does posting that kind of stuff actually make a difference?
I think when you post it, you give them the right?
So if then someone makes a status saying, I see your new policy update. Have you seen these?
No.
People post them, like they're reposted.
They repost the privacy thing and pick out the bits that
It seems like a lawyer wrote them.
Yes.
And,
no one reads them.
Yeah.
So what are you asking? Like, do I think it's fair that they can do that stuff?
I'm saying sometimes I see on Facebook, it seems like a law student wrote this thing counteracting Facebook's privacy policy, saying this is my information, you can't use it. Does it actually do anything? Does Facebook have an inherent right to all yours?
You put it up on the internet. You kind of gave it to the internet, right? That's the way I look at it. If you don't want it to be on the internet, don't put it on the internet. It's as simple as that. Now there are things that you have to do on the internet, like you have to bank on the internet these days, and you should take that cautiously.
What is your point of view on Bitcoins and how it works? Like Bitcoin mining and the whole concept that value comes from producing it?
Yeah, now that's a Wild West, if you really want to get into that. I don't know. I have no idea. It could happen. It's not, I'm not a cryptography expert, and, I read The Economist every week, but I wouldn't call myself an economist. So I don't know. I don't know what will happen. Sure. And then I'll get.
If you get in a position to hire people,
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And in fact, it's really competitive right now to hire people.
what are the skills and qualities that
Yeah.
you're looking for?
So first off, we do a lot of internships. A lot of the California schools around us, like Stanford and Berkeley. If we don't give a job offer to someone when they're interning between their junior and senior year, by the time they go back to their senior year, they won't come to our company. It's that competitive. We look for least I look for math, high-end physics. Those two usually trump all other learning. If you can think abstract in math or physics sense, like you can usually pick up anything to do with a computer. It just will come naturally. Obviously, like communication skills, and just like kind of that can-do, I want to work here, I'm excited to work here attitude.
Zach, as your company moved, or you moved through these various companies in the last years, have you been buffeted by outside forces, whether it's the recession or income inequality, whatever the larger society is dealing with? How does it affect you?
Affects us. I personally like the recession times. I think that's the funnest because no one bothers you. You can just go and work in your little house, your garage, and you can just have fun and like it's not this crazy circus. It changes the the rates you pay for funding. Now money is extremely cheap. So like starting a company now, you can easily get that initial round of funding. They're just dying to give money away to like, please take money from our venture fund. We need to have companies doing that. And in times of like 2008, 9, it was much drier, much harder to secure a round of funding. Same with like 2001. So ultimately, you kind of want to be, a really conservative person and have a couple years of salary in your bank account. So during those downturns, you don't have to take money, and you can just work on your stuff. And that really gives you the most independence. Rainy day. Sure. Oh, you go.
Considering you didn't go to college, do you ever feel like unqualified compared to other people that are interning, or do you ever even consider hiring people that didn't go to college?
No, and I did take college classes. So I did depth first search college. I don't know if you guys know what depth first search is. It's like, if you think of a tree of college courses that goes down, right? Like, you can go through them. I have to take English, and then I have to take the social thing, and then I have to take math, and then go back over here and take English too. I drained all the math and physics till I got to the bottom. And then I was like, see ya. And, that's not for everyone. Not everyone's crazy. So I don't feel that way. I do love getting kids out of college that are very fresh on their math because I can ask them the math problems that I'm kind of like still struggling with. Like, hey man, help me with this derivative. Like, I haven't done it in a little while, and I know you can bust it out real quick, and they do. So it's a balance. You want them, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm inferior in any way. I'm hiring them. Either one.
What do you think about? You talk about like privacy settings and like how they can see everything when it comes to like Twitter or Facebook. Yeah. But what about like messages or even like Snapchat?
Yeah, they all have their different bits of what you're allowed to see. I don't know Snapchat's policy off the top of my head. They haven't started turning on the floodgates to make money yet. Right? They're still in like riding on their investments. So usually those companies in the beginning get so much investment money that they have years before they need to show that they make money, right? So they're just collecting data, and they may or may not use it. They may start turning on ads later to make money, or they may find some other way to make money. But it's hard to tell. It's opaque, and people make mistakes. Like we've made mistakes and been like, whoops, we shouldn't have recorded that. Like, here's this big pile of data over here. Quick, get rid of it, And then go talk to the lawyers and make sure that was cool, that we made that mistake. And, so it's hard. It's hard. There's no guarantees. We're all just humans, right? Like, it's not perfect.
Messages.
Yeah. Same thing. I don't have any like insight into how they do it, but I imagine it's all there. It's passing through their servers, right? Sure.
So are you personally comfortable being on social media, or because of everything you know, you avoid it?
I'm comfortable. I share what I want to share. I'll post pictures of my kid playing in the sand or whatever, and like, there's not a ton to fear from it, but you should definitely think about it before you post stuff. I'm super paranoid about passwords and like financial data and all that stuff. You should definitely take that seriously. People get hacked all the time. So yeah, and working at a bigger company, we take security very seriously because like we get threats from around the world, and we have people that are flying around the world that are part of our company, and we're in the spotlight. So definitely be aware, and that's the number one thing. Same as walking down a dark street, just be aware.
Zach, any issues with countries that have somewhat coercive and repressive policies? Does Twitter engage with that in some way?
Yeah, we try. It's kind of fun. Like our CEO Dick has tweeted back and forth with the Iranian government. He's tweeted back and forth with the Turkish government, and we're always on the side of giving a voice to everyone, which is really cool. And we have a legal team that's like super excited about like trying to pry open those doors so that people can talk freely about whatever they want, and that's a really cool thing. It's not really black or white. It's gray. There are times we need to compromise and take something down that's objectionable to the Turkish government or objectionable to the Iranian government. But we always push back as far as we can. We've even pushed back against the United States government. They have, I forget what they're called. It's not Freedom of Information Act. It's basically like data requests on people. Like, hey, we think that this young lady in the front row might be up to no good. Can we please have all of her tweets since 2004? And we might push back and say, no, you can't have those. We wanted the government to let us tell the public how many of those requests we get a year. Not who they were, not what was in them. We just wanted to say the number. We got 600 requests last year, and they wouldn't let us do that. So we actually sued them, and they relented, and now we can say that number. So we're like trying to go in that direction. It's really hard. The government is a big thing. And you got to balance, right? Like you don't want somebody to do something terrible on your social network and be like, no, that's a secret communication, and then something terrible happens, right? You want to balance, as all things. Yeah.
So a slightly practical question. You mentioned funding and venture capital.
Yeah.
So when you go after your next company, what do you look for in a funding partner? Where do you get your money to do it?
Really low interest rate. No. It's.
You say they're throwing money at you.
They're not. Yeah, throwing money is probably a little crass. They are part of these venture funds, and they want to make money, right? So they need to have these companies become the Facebooks and the Twitters in order to, fill up those mutual funds so all the baby boomers can retire and everyone else can make their money on Wall Street. So they have money sitting around that needs to be at work. They want you to be successful. They want you to create something awesome. It's almost like they're like, please, we can give you money. Just come up with an idea, any idea that's going to be good. And we'll give you money. So you look for a partner that is going to help you curate your idea. That's going to work with you to open doors. That's going to get you into some markets or get you into some meetings with some people that you wouldn't normally be able to get to. And you also want to be realistic with each other about what your ultimate goal is, because you don't want to take money and then decide, it's cool, I just want a 6-figure salary and I don't want to become a Facebook, but thanks for the investment. That doesn't fly. You need to be it's going for the moon or don't take the money. So, yeah.
What, if anything, have you heard about the outer net, and do you foresee it taking root?
The Tor and all that sort of stuff, and it's already taken root. It's there, right? It's for those of you who don't know, Tor is a kind of a web created for the military to browse anonymously. and now a lot of people on the internet use it as well. There's also sites like Silk Road, which is like, you know, drug trade on the internet. I think those are there, and they always will be, just like they are, you know, in real life. You know, people, you know, bad people find things to do no matter where they are.
What's your opinion on groups like Anonymous and like people that are like see themselves like internet?
Yeah, those guys, the lulls. Some of it is just, frankly, a bunch of kids playing pranks. Some of it's more serious. I think there's good in it in that it exposes holes. Like a lot of companies have been hacked that are, you know, like Booz Hamilton is a big government consultancy, and they had all their email read. And it's like, yeah, like maybe you should beef up your security. So I think like there's some good out of that. I think, you know, it's probably cooler to hack into Booz Hamilton, prove that you can do it, and then go talk to them about it before you go and like make a big publicity stunt on the internet. But you know, it's good.
Okay, if you'd like to speak further with Zach, come on down, and thank you for coming.